Hiya, it's Amanda here from Lolli Lulu Crafts, and today I have one of my Cards for Men cards for you, and this one I am using this gorgeous Hunkydory collection. I think this is a great example of what you can achieve that's a relatively simple card, but by using really good quality products it just elevates it and makes it look great. So I think this is a great card if you're more experienced and you want to make a sort of quick card, and you can always add a little bit of something to it yourself. But if you're a beginner, this is also a good card because it is simple to do, but it looks great when you're finished. So I've just taken an A4 sheet from this collection, and as you notice I scored and folded it with the pattern on the inside. So this then has created an A5 card, but with that design on the inside, and I quite often do that. I think it is really effective when you open it up. However, obviously with something that's so high end, it needed somewhere for the person to write, so I took another sheet from the collection and I took the sort of plainer end of that sheet. You'll notice that there's like a border on the other end, and I just cut it. I was really just kind of doing it in all honesty. There was no dimensions being done here. I was just like, yeah, that looks about right. However, before sticking that in the inside, I decided that I wanted to take my corner chomper and just add a little extra detail to the card. So I just chomped the corners of the two outside edges, so not on the folded side, and I left the folded side undone, so square, but you could do those if you wanted. And then I repeated the same thing on the layer that I was going to put on the inside. Again, with this one, even with just doing the two outside edges of the card, you could do all four on this layer if you wanted to. However, I decided to mirror the look of the card and just do those two outside corners, and I think that looks really effective, and it just added a really nice little detail to the card. So Hunkydory is a heavy cardstock. It's 300 GSM and it's also a coated cardstock, so you really do need a strong wet glue. So I went for the Hunkydory construction glue. As you know, I've been using that a lot lately. I've been really enjoying it. I think it's been a really good glue and I've really liked it a lot. So we let that dry on the inside just a little because I didn't want it sliding about while I was working on the front, and then I added glue to the front of the card. Now this for me is the easiest way to add cardstock to the front of the card if I'm going to cover it completely, because you know it's going to be the perfect size, especially with A4 to A5. It's not the most easy dimensions to cut, so if you do it this way you can stick that down, give it a few seconds so to make sure it's, you know, not going to slide about, because as I said it's coated cardstock. And then I find just using scissors easiest. If you try and cut it with a trimmer, I find you end up, if you're not careful, cutting off a bit of the actual card as well. So then that's all cut to size, and obviously in this case we need to just chomp those corners off again, so we just add those off to mirror the card that's underneath. And again, this was another piece of cardstock that was in the collection for this particular design, and I think that works really well. It's got that lovely colour match to the inside. And then we're going to take our topper sheet that clearly goes with the cardstock. You can see it's the same pattern there. So first of all, I'm going to take the little tiny kind of toppers at the side there. I thought they were really cute and I wanted to make use of those somehow. I had this idea in my head and I wasn't sure if it was going to work, so I was going to pop them out and just see if I could get it to work, and actually it did work out and I was really pleased with it. So then I took the actual topper. I didn't want, there was another frame as well, but I just decided I only wanted the sort of postage stamp look frame and the topper on the inside. Now be really careful when you're separating these because they do tend to be quite firm, and if you're not careful you can rip them. Sometimes it's worth using a craft knife just to make sure that you separate them okay. So for the main topper, I knew I wanted that stuck down with foam. I didn't realise, sorry, my camera had stopped, so you didn't see me stick down the frame, but you can see it's pretty simple. I just stuck down the frame using a regular glue pen, a tape pen, and then I've got my topper which is on the foam, and I'm positioning the little baby toppers to act as a sort of 3D addition. So I'm taking the topper that we've got there, and then I'm taking the matching sort of baby toppers and actually sort of making them come out from the image where they are on that main topper. You'll see what I mean in a minute, but I'm doing them at different levels. So these two I'm doing flat, so that's why I haven't stuck this topper down yet, because it's obviously easier to position them, these small ones, while this one isn't stuck down, because if I've stuck it down I can't slide the others underneath. So I'm taking these small ones again. I'm just using my wet glue. The reason is, as I said, one, it gives me the strength to, so it really stays stuck, and we've got a slight difference in layer there because of the frame, but also because it gives me that movement time. Obviously with this we need some time to make sure it's positioned correctly in order to get the effect that I'm trying to get, which is that it's almost like it's sort of one image, but they're sort of coming out from there, and I just thought it might look quite effective with the different levels, etc. So I'm just fiddling around with that, just trying to get it correct. And also my little topper keeps moving, so then that means I've got to keep moving the baby topper, so it's just like a bit of a fiddle, but it's not difficult, it's just a bit of a pain sometimes when you don't quite put it in the right place. So then I've got the second one, which I also wanted to be flat, so I've just popped that, and you can see I'm just lining up the image with the image that's on that topper in the center there, and it just, I think, gives a really cool effect, and the way it just kind of comes together like that. So we're just making sure that's all stuck. So then we've got the next ones, and they are going to be 3D'd kind of. I'm going to first stick down my center topper because these are going on top, not underneath. So I'm just taking the backs off the foam, and I'm going to add some adhesive to the back of that as well, again just to make sure that it stays stuck. I did try to give a few minutes just to make sure that the two that I'd already stuck down were slightly sticking, but I didn't want to leave it too long. I wanted it enough so they just didn't sort of instantly move as soon as I put this down, but I didn't want it so stuck that I didn't have the opportunity to adjust them if it was necessary, because obviously once you actually stick this topper down it might just need that little bit of adjustment. So I just stuck that middle one down, and I think that again you can start to begin to see how that's going to come together. You can see that I've got one topper there with foam on and one that's completely flat. So this one now is going to be flat, but it's on top. So it's, at the moment we've got the frame at sort of base level, we've got the two toppers, the baby ones, next, then we've got our central topper, then we've got the trains topper, and now we're using this last one that's got a piece of foam on. Again, I used a bit of the wet adhesive on the foam as well. So we've got these different levels all the way through, and it's just bringing that whole image together. Now, I'd stuck that sentiment down. Luckily, I'd only stuck it down using tape because I knew I wasn't 100% sure on that. So I was able to peel it off because it's coated cardstock. It really didn't need much. And also, this is a very light sentiment, so I knew I could just manage with the tape pen for that, and I decided I liked it better on the inside. This was just one of my Hunkydory. I've got a load of sentiment sheets from Hunkydory, and that was just from there. I just grabbed it. It wasn't part of any particular set. Now, just because it's a man's card doesn't mean you can't put some sort of gems in inverted commas. So what I went for is these sort of metal, sort of brads type gems that matched really nicely with the gold foiling on the card. I just think it went really, really well. I just used a tiny drop of the wet glue, and then I tried to use my tweezers to pick them up, but they were so slippery that they weren't going to play balls, so I just used my finger and picked them up, and then you just pop them into the glue. The glue dries clear, so just make sure they're in the right place. Generally speaking, groups of 3 or single, so I did 2 groups of 3 in like sort of a triangles, and then 2 single ones, and I think that works really, really well, and it just adds a little extra detail to the card. It's not too over the top. And then on the inside we've got the card design that matches the front, so it all kind of marries up together. And that is it all done. So I hope you've enjoyed making this card with me. I think you can see that on the whole it's a relatively simple card, but it's just got that little bit of a twist. So if you're a little bit more experienced crafter, you could do it like this, but if you're a little bit less confident, maybe don't add the little baby toppers and just go for the main topper and the little gems and do it just as simple as that. So I hope you've enjoyed. Don't forget to hop on across to the blog post to take a look at all the photos, etc. And also while you're there, I'd love it if you could subscribe, and of course on here, and give it a thumbs up and all those good things that you're supposed to do. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again soon. Bye for now. Bye.